Good evening, guys. It is August 2nd, 2022. In this video here, I want to talk to you about good, better, best in vacuum cleaners. Now, there's a lot of people who have kind of been upset with me for gearing more towards higher end machines. I can kind of understand, where you're coming from, because I understand that not everybody can afford higher end machines. And sometimes higher end machines just aren't always practical for everybody. But I will say that there is a reason why I talk about them so much. And that is mostly due to the fact that I look at vacuum cleaners from a long-term perspective. And I'm not saying that you can't get a long life out of a Walmart vacuum or something like that. You absolutely can. But generally, the higher end machines have a lot longer support behind them, and the ones that are like designed with the same setup for decades and decades and decades are going to give you a lot of support over the years, and it's going to, you're just going to get your money's worth time and time and time again. It's just the way it is. Now, a few things to note here. Basically, like I said, I gear more towards higher end machines. That's mainly what I have. Like I said, I'm not against budget machines, but I just think long term, what has been around for a very long time and what has parts available all over the place. And basically, the ones that I have, Oreck stands in good, Sanitaire stands in better, and Kirby stands in best. Now, one thing that I will say is the Sanitaire and the Kirby, it's kind of a hard decision between the two, honestly, on what is better over the other. Personally, I think they're pretty darn close. I will say that there are a few differences. For example, I feel like the Sanitaire is a little bit stronger on the carpet cleaning, but the Kirby I think of as just as a whole being generally overall a better option. Especially for someone who is looking for a machine that has everything with it, and you don't have to store two separate machines. I think it's a good option. Now, as you can see, none of these vacuum cleaners have tools on board. And I will say that if your home is primarily carpet and that is all you do is carpet, you know, the tools really aren't going to matter too much. I understand that some people use tools more than others. Some people need tools more than others. I understand that. And I'm not saying that vacuums with tools on board are all bad. They're not necessarily bad. They're just not the best design when you're talking carpet performance. The more airflow that you allow to get in contact with the floor when you're cleaning carpet, the more efficient and the cleaner your carpet is going to be. It's just a fact. I mean, that's not a bias. That's not a, a made up claim. That's just a fact. Because literally nothing is in the way of that fan. Nothing is in the way of that airflow getting all the way through the carpet to pull absolutely everything out. I mean, it's just more efficient, But the longer your air path is, the more it's going to take to pull that dirt through. So just generally speaking, now with the Kirby, you have all your tools with it. No, they're not on board, but I will say that, I mean, even to the Kirby haters out there, you've got to give it credit, to a degree, because yes, there is the disadvantage of having the tools separate, but it is by far one of the most functional vacuum cleaners that is around. I mean, it just is. It's just very, very functional. Now, there's a few things that I will say. It depends on your home. It depends on your needs. If you are primarily cleaning carpet, any of these three here, the Kirby, the Auric, or the Sanitaire, will be a really good option for you. If tools are not a primary thing that you use, and you primarily just do carpet, and you maybe do a little bit of attachment cleaning here and there, then these really aren't going to be too much of an inconvenience for you. Now, is it convenient to have a hose on board that you can just pull off and get those dust bunnies in the corner? Yes, absolutely. But if you do not use attachments very often, like at all, other than like a couple times a year, or even just once a month, then, I don't really see how it would be too much of an inconvenience for you. Now, I will say, if you have primarily hard floors, like hardwood, tile, and stuff, and very little carpet, these are not the most ideal. These are mainly carpet vacuum cleaners. Like, that's just what they're really good at. But again, if you have mainly carpet, these are just generally better options. Because long term, they're going to clean very well, which is going to extend the life of your carpet tremendously. The more soil, sand, grit, debris that you can keep out of your carpet, the longer it lasts. That's just the way it is. Now, between the Sanitaire and the Kirby, and like I said, I've heard a lot of debates and arguments between the two saying, well, Sanitaire's better, well, Kirby's better. To be honest, the choice is really yours. I will give you my honest experience. This is not opinion. This is not bias. This is not any of that. I'm telling the truth. And this is coming from somebody who absolutely adores the Kirby. I feel like the Sanitaire does clean carpet quite a bit better. I just feel like it's stronger. I will say that they're pretty darn close, but I think the Sanitaire is just a notch up from the Kirby. Now, is that a reason to buy this Sanitaire over the Kirby? Not necessarily. And I'm just talking to like somebody who's just looking for a machine for residential use. If you do not want to store two different machines, and you just want one machine with everything that deep cleans carpets and has some attachments, the Kirby is honestly a better option. I mean, yes, you have to store the tools and stuff, but you don't have to store a whole entire another machine with a motor and a cord and stuff. And the Kirby's tools are just very, very, very versatile. And so I think it would be a great option for home use. Now, the Sanitaire, on the other hand, if you don't mind storing an extra machine, like a small canister vac, for attachment cleaning, then the Sanitaire is great. On the Oreck, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, the Oreck, I don't feel deep cleans quite as well as the Kirby and the Sanitaire. Does it groom and clean the carpet well? Yes. But in terms of like really beating deep down solid heavy debris out, I just don't feel like it really comes up to the level of the Sanitaire and the Kirby. But again, if these options are too heavy for you, by all means get an Auric. I mean, I'm not saying that don't buy an Auric and only buy these because of the cleaning performance. You have to kind of weigh your odds here. The Kirby is the most heavy out of the three. I have confirmed that. If I lift the Sanitaire, I can tell that it's slightly lighter than the Kirby. Definitely. The Sanitaire is still heavier than the Auric. The Auric is obviously the lightest of the three. But these are just general things for you to think about. And, I've had a lot of people come to me and say, well, you're just so biased towards one brand. And yes, I have my favorites, and yes, I have the ones that I absolutely enjoy. But, if somebody doesn't want a Kirby or can't physically use a Kirby, I'm not going to just cram a Kirby down their throat and not give them any other options. I like to give other options to people. Now, if you have primarily hard floors, or just all hard floors in general, you are probably going to want a canister vacuum or something like that, with a hard floor brush. And I would recommend looking at the Sebos or the Miele canister vacuums. Excuse me. And again, I'm not against budget options, but vacuum cleaners are a major appliance in your home. A lot of people do not think about it that way, and a lot of people do not realize it. But, vacuum cleaners don't just clean your floor, they clean your upholstery, they clean your mattresses, they remove dust, they filter the air, they, in some cases, completely purify the air. Kirby is pretty darn close to that. I wouldn't say it's 100%. You're never going to get 100% dust removal out of any vacuum cleaner. I mean, there's always going to be the tiniest amount that is not going to be removed. But most people, that's not really going to affect them. Unless you have severe allergies or asthma to the point where you're literally cut off from air and you cannot breathe. It's just not realistic. And if you think about it, don't we walk around, in our homes with a little dust and outside with a little pollen and stuff like that all the time? Yes, to be able to remove and trap as much of it as you can is very important, but we can't become so paranoid about that, because at the end of the day, it is just not realistic. I mean, just in your own home. Now, I understand in healthcare and certain environments like that, it's a much greater concern, and it should be, because you're dealing with people with, weakened immune systems and stuff. But, that's just another topic for another video. But the point is, there's good, better, best in every vacuum cleaner. If you can afford to get a good used Sanitaire, Oreck, or Kirby, which in some cases they run between $100, $200, sometimes $300. And considering most Sharks and Dysons cost that now, or more than that in some cases, I mean, the prices of these things have gotten absolutely outrageous. I think you're really putting your money into a good machine. I mean, especially a Kirby, Sanitaire, or Oreck. I mean, these three machines easily last 15 to 20 years, at least. But 99.99% of the time, they go well past that. They go 30, 35, 40 years, especially if you're taking care of them. And, a vacuum cleaner should be a long-term investment. I mean, it's no different than trying to, get a good washer or dryer, or get a good dishwasher or something like that that's going to do a really good job and it's going to last you. So, I mean, there's really no difference. I mean, people think about it as just another broom or mop. It's not. I mean, not even close, not even remotely close. I mean, we are talking a major job in your home, and that is managing and controlling dust, allergens, dirt, debris, and stuff. And if you can't remove that effectively in the first place, then you're just wasting your time and you're wasting your money. So, will a budget machine get that job done? Yes. Will a budget machine last a decent long time? Yes. It will if you maintain it and everything. But like I said, most of the machines from Walmart and Target and stuff, they're always changing the design. They're always coming out with new things, and then they just do away with the old stuff. And it's just planned obsolescence. And some of these machines at Walmart and Target and wherever else are just designed to be outright disposable in the first place, which is never a good thing for any appliance. And so, the design of the Orex have pretty much been the same for a very, very, very long time. The design of the Sanitors has been the same for a very, very long time. The design of the Kirby's have been the same for a very, very long time. These are all designs that have worked and have been around for decades. Parts have been around for decades. Parts are cheap because there's so many of these out there. I mean, so if you think about it that way, and you're getting just a higher quality built machine with higher quality materials in the first place. You know, think about like when you're buying a car, like, you know, you've got your, you know, lower end, cheaper, you know, Chevys and, you know, Kias and whatever else. And then you've got your good quality, you know, Hondas, Toyotas, Subarus, all that stuff. The same thing applies with vacuum cleaners. I mean, if you buy something that's made well and made to last, we're not talking, you know, to be fancy. We're talking to just be good and faithful and reliable, and something that you will have in your house for a good 20 years, you know, and you won't have to worry about it, because if something goes wrong, if a part wears out, if a part breaks, you just get another part and you replace that part for very little money in most cases, and you're back up and running. Not to mention that the cleaning performance for this stuff is pretty darn good compared to most machines nowadays that are sold, you know, at Walmart or Target or whatever. And again, I'm not saying that those are bad vacuum cleaners. I mean, I understand that, you know, everybody's home is different, everybody's lifestyle is different, everybody's needs are different, everybody's budgets are different, you know, everybody's weight limits are different. I completely understand, but I'm just talking generally. You know, if you get something that has a design, and especially if you just have primarily wall-to-wall carpeting, if you stick with these designs that have been around for literally decades, you know, then you are set, because, like I said, if anything goes wrong, it's just a matter of getting a part that is normally just a couple bucks and replacing that part, and you are back up and going. You know. So, anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. Because, you know, I understand that there are good, better, best in vacuum cleaners, and there's good, better, best in everything. And I by no means am saying that you have to get the fanciest or the highest grade machine. I mean, it's just not true. But like the Auric and the Sanitaire, these aren't necessarily considered all that fancy or high end. I mean, especially the Sanitaire. But I'm going off of the long-term reliability and parts availability and being able to repair it, you know? And it's the same thing with the Kirby. I mean, the Kirby is like the Cadillac of vacuum cleaners, basically. But aside from that, I mean, parts are all over the place for Kirby's. Like, just everywhere. And in a lot of cases, a lot of parts are very interchangeable. So, and it's the same thing with the Sanitors. It's the same thing with the classic Oryx. You know, it's just, you know, the simpler and more streamlined you can keep things, the easier it is, because, you know, that's how you get such a long life out of an investment like this, is having parts available and knowing that there are so many of these out there that parts should be available for a long time because so many of them are in service and so many people still use them. So that's basically where I'm coming from with this. But again, just my thoughts, my views, my opinions on this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me in the comments. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.